I think one of the biggest stereotypes about that relate to victims and survivors of human trafficking is that they're coming here undocumented, when in fact the majority of the victims across the country, while they are foreign nationals, which means they're not United States citizens, actually come to the United States with legal documentation. The biggest stereotype of all is that trafficking is something that happens somewhere else, when in reality it's probably happening around the corner from your house. And I think that's because labor trafficking is so much more closely connected to our everyday life. And when I do presentations and I talk about what labor trafficking means to everyday people like you and I'm talking about, I ask people, when was the last time you thought about how the pretty apples sitting on your table got picked? Who picked them and how did they get to your table? When you go to the local deli, especially here in New York City, to pick up your lunch, who was making that sandwich? What conditions did he come in, and what conditions is he living in now? Sometimes with an issue like trafficking that can seem so overwhelming at times, you can think of, what am I, sitting in my living room, what can I do to help? And really at the end of the day, you can become an educated consumer, because Americans really do have a lot of power with their money where they purchase things. And so there's places like a website called Know the Chain where people can go and look and see what corporations are doing to, on their initiatives to fight trafficking within their supply chain. If I'm walking down a New York City street and I think I see someone who's potentially in a trafficking situation, what I usually advise, even as someone who does this work every day, is that if I think I see someone, I'm not going to approach them, because one of the things that is most concerning is that you don't know who's watching this person, right? And so that if the trafficker is nearby and you go up to them and you try to help them, you could actually put that person in serious jeopardy. If it's someone like I was mentioning earlier about, potentially if you go into a deli and you go in there and you see the same worker every day and you think that something's going on, I think you can start easy, right? You can start by simply introducing yourself and starting to engage. But at the end of the day, for us, it's really important for the victim to know that there are other places out there that can help them. And so maybe you start to just simply engage them so that they know they're not alone. And the last thing I'd want to mention is that there's also other organizations and groups like our own Voices of Hope, which is a survivor group. These are former and current clients of survivors of trafficking that are working in their communities every day and are able to identify other victims, and they need your support as well. And so being able to work with them and financially with all different kinds of support, I think is also really important. And so hopefully together we can really get to a point where we're at least trying to stem the tide a bit on this really terrible crime.